Overall macro picture of inflation going up means everything costs more money, including real estate. Chicken Little, the sky is falling. Now, I used to read that book when I was a kid, and I had this paranoia that the sky was falling, and the media is doing a great job of doing the same thing. Here I am 40 years later, still thinking that the sky is falling. But through years of experience, I realized that they have a vested interest in keeping me scared. I want to talk to you about 2022, a rise in interest rate.
They're talking now about raising interest rates for the first time.
Tight supply in real estate and what that could mean for you and your family's decision to move. As we're filming this, we're at the tail end of 2021 here in Markham, Ontario, and the government has already declared that they plan on raising interest rates sooner than they expected, which is a result of pressures from interest rates. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's totally cool. You don't even really need to understand all the intricacies of what's going on. When you hear the term interest rates, people understand that that correlates to their buying power. People know that more increase in interest rates means paying more money for what you want to buy. So how will that affect real estate prices in 2022? Well, obviously, with an increase in interest rates, it does affect buyers' buying power. But I wanted you to keep in mind as you're hearing this kind of negative media or negative news, is that we're still in ultra low interest rates, and housing is still affordable from a mortgage perspective. From a purchase price perspective, one could argue that it's not very affordable, but ultimately I think that we are going to see an increase in house prices through 2022 in spite of a rise in interest rate. The reason why I believe this, my core value, so I do have a degree in economics and I've been studying real estate for 23 years. I run the brokerage. I am a broker of record for 15 years. I pay really close attention to these things, and sometimes there's these small catalysts that make changes in the market. But what I do is I take a macro approach and look at the big picture, what's really happening, because those small things can cause little spikes, but the big things, the elephants in the room, those things cause lasting change. If you want to know why interest rates have a little on the average price of real estate for 2022, we got to go back to 2005. Here in Ontario, the Mike Harris government implemented the Oak Ridges Moraine Act. Essentially what he did, or not him, but the PC government had created a protection zone around the vast majority of the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area. And what they did was they protected that space from development to ensure that the water table below ground wasn't being compromised, as it would suffocate Lake Ontario's water supply. This is high-level thinking. This is the official plan, which is created every 25 years. So every province in Canada has an official plan that lasts 25 years. This is their compass, their guiding light as to every decision that the government makes in terms of where's the next street going to be created, where will they build a school, how many fire departments they need. They're all driven by the official plan. 2005, the Mike Harris government implements the Oak Ridges Moraine Act, restricting development in and around the Toronto area, forcing developers to focus on smaller infill projects. And then fast forward over those 15 years, or 12 years I should say, real estate prices were on a steady increase. Why? Well, supply was restricted. So when supply was restricted and demand was rising, well, that causes prices to go up. Just think about it. If there's a concert, a U2 concert at the ACC or Scotiabank Center, and there's 22,000 tickets, prices will have pressure to go up in the resale market. People will be scalping tickets for $500 a ticket outside. But if U2 announces that there's 2 or 3 or 4 more concert nights, one after another, those scalpers don't make any money because the supply for tickets to the U2 concert has gone up and the demand stayed pretty well the same. So we look at it in housing, it's almost the same thing. They cut the supply of houses being able to be built in the GTA, and that causes prices to go up. Next timeline, Kathleen Wynne and the Liberal government 2017 announces the foreign buyers tax is going to be the catalyst for their fair housing plan. They believe that by adding a 15% tax to any purchaser who is buying a property within the Golden Horseshoe, you'll see that the Golden Horseshoe map almost exactly maps the Oak Ridges Moraine Act. So you'll see that first they restricted supply, then they started taxing demand. So it's been this yin and yang between, is property available to be built? And in the areas where they are, let's hammer them down with some taxes to restrict demand. Now, neither system really worked well, as real estate prices continue to rise. Then fast forward to the next catalyst, which was 2020, and we saw COVID. This global pandemic forced people to work from home, forced employers to think about how could you work in a way where people are not in the downtown city center, the central business district. And by COVID, encouraging businesses to allow people to work from home, they started finding a new way. And in finding a new way, the big businesses realized, hey, wait a minute, I don't need to pay rent at, $500 a square foot when I could have somebody working from home. So we saw this migration away from the GTA core, and we saw a demand decrease in the core, an increase in prices, an increase in demand outside. I'm talking about Claremont, I'm talking about Innisfil, I'm talking about west of Burlington. These areas, Port Perry, prices went through the roof through most of 2020 and 2021 because people could move out of their shoebox condo and buy a detached home in Port Perry for the exact same price. They could finally let their dog run out in the backyard while they could work from home from their computers. So we've seen that as a decrease in demand for the city of Toronto. All right, so we talked about the past, and let's focus on the future and where we're heading from here. We are looking at a looming rise in interest rates. The real reason why they're raising interest rates is, number one, a steady and strong economy. Number two, interest rates are what the federal government uses to combat inflation. They're doing it because they believe that the economy is strong enough, but they also are doing this to protect us from a massive spike in prices for general goods. Now, inflation is defined by the average cost of goods purchased by a household. That means that the government anticipates 5.5% inflation for 2022. That means that if your family spends on average $2,000 a month on expenses, you can expect it to go up by about $100 or $120 or so, which is going to squeeze people that are on fixed income. What does this mean for the real estate world? Well, I do believe that a rise in interest rates will cause a flattening of real estate prices or even a decrease in real estate prices. But the overall macro picture of inflation going up means everything costs more money, including real estate. So in the category of real estate, interest rates rising will cause house prices to go down. But when we step back and we say, wait a minute, if the entire economy is going up in value, real estate will be part of that as well. Ultimately, the catalyst for the inflation that we see now is really stems from the idea of the runoff of printing of new money, which global economy has done. There's a global tax, 15% globally from the developed nations. These things are causing, the rise in prices as well as a labor shortage. So I do believe our labor shortage will not be as big of a problem next year. I'm talking about 2022, as the Canadian government allows new Canadians back into our beautiful country. They definitely support the labor force and support a robust economy and also increase in demand. So come to Canada, we need you. If you have any questions about this data, I know we went through a lot. The idea was to give you a high level perspective. And if you want to have a quick chat about what each of these kind of topics or subtopics, what do they really mean? If you have some questions or you want to know what does this mean for you as you and your family are thinking about a move, I'm here to help. I want to help you break down the data so that you can make an informed, and more than that, I want you to make a confident decision about your family's future. I'm Ralph Ciancio. Thanks so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We want to keep putting out videos like this. Add some comments with any questions. Thanks for your love. Make it a great one.